Welcome to AE Help's IELTS test preparation videos. For 6 original exams, over 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course for your phone, tablet, PC, visit us there and join our premium package. Now, for this lesson, we have partnered with Skillshare, a world-class platform to help you learn about a variety of topics, whether it's photography, computers, or improving your reading skills for exams like the IELTS. Skillshare is the perfect choice. And of course, if you use this link, which you can also find in the description, you get 2 months of free access. Try Skillshare today to improve your abilities. Now, in this lesson, we will focus on the IELTS reading, yes, no, not given questions. Watch and learn. Before we can answer yes, no, not given or true, false, not given questions, we need to read the passage. For these types of questions, you should not read them before you read the passage. The reason being is that there are false and not given information in the question. This does not help you to answer these. It will only confuse you when you're reading the passage. You should avoid reading any information in questions in the IELTS reading section which have false or information that is not included in the reading. True, false, not given, definitely do not read these before you read the passage. So first, let's look at the passage and read it together with this native British speaker.
Earthquake preparedness. Of all natural disasters, earthquakes are likely to be the most devastating. Though earthquakes, most of the time, are only weak tremors which are not even strong enough to knock picture frames off walls, at their strongest, earthquakes can destroy entire cities, killing thousands and displacing millions. For regions of the world affected by earthquakes, being prepared for the big one is crucial to surviving when it eventually occurs. Earthquake preparedness takes 3 forms: education, construction, and planning. Those who grow up in earthquake zones are very familiar with so-called earthquake drills. These exercises take place multiple times each year in school, and students practice the appropriate steps to take in the event of an earthquake. The first step is to take shelter under a strong structure. In school, this is often a wooden desk. In the absence of such furniture, a door frame is recommended, as this is the strongest structural part of any room. Next, drop to the ground, cover your head and neck, and only move if there is a safer place to seek shelter within short crawling distance. Keeping your head and neck covered are of critical importance, since falling hazards are one of the biggest dangers in an earthquake. Once the shaking has stopped, people are advised to wait for any aftershocks to occur. Many deaths and injuries occur during aftershocks, smaller earthquakes which occur shortly after the initial quake, so staying sheltered is recommended for up to 10 minutes after the main event. Once sufficient time has passed, people should get to open ground, taking care to avoid falling hazards, especially glass structures such as windows. One of the biggest factors that affects the number of casualties in an earthquake event is the quality of the construction of buildings that people work and reside in. In areas with poor construction standards, these buildings provide little to no protection against earthquakes. In the major earthquake that occurred in Haiti in 2010, poor construction standards were to blame for a large proportion of the casualties. While other countries have higher standards, often these standards are not designed with earthquakes in mind. Many buildings may be built to an otherwise high safety standard, but be almost as defenseless as the Haitian buildings when facing a strong earthquake. In high-risk earthquake zones, all buildings must be constructed with an eye to earthquake preparedness. Buildings in areas such as Japan and the west coast of North America are constructed to shift a certain amount along with an earthquake. This elasticity allows the building to survive the quake. Instead of shaking and being knocked down, they are shaken and return to their original place. This type of construction greatly minimizes the risk to inhabitants in the event of a major earthquake. The final form of earthquake preparedness is planning. People in high-risk areas must have a plan for what to do in the event of an earthquake, and they must plan beforehand so they have appropriate supplies to survive in the initial days after the event. The most important resource after an earthquake is water, and it is recommended people keep enough water for a week, approximately 28 litres per person. Food will not usually be difficult to come by, but water, which relies on municipal delivery systems, which are very likely to be compromised by the quake, is precious. Other critical items such as medical supplies and personal documents should also be stored in a safe place so they can be retrieved after the event. Other measures which are useful to prepare for an earthquake are keeping a flashlight and whistle next to your bed, not hanging falling hazards such as picture frames over your bed, arranging a family contact person outside of your area, arranging a family meeting place, and identifying both hazards and refuge areas within your home, school, and workplace. In the event that you are trapped after an earthquake, do not struggle or kick up dust. Instead, try to make sounds such as blowing on a whistle or tapping on a pipe so that rescuers may locate you. If you have a mobile phone, use it to call or text for help. Earthquakes can be deadly. All the preparedness in the world will not help if a sufficiently large earthquake hits the wrong spot. What can be done, however, is to improve the chances of survival through education, appropriate construction, and diligent planning. Countless lives can be saved.
Skimming and scanning the text for answers for yes, no, not given questions is not effective. Why? Because it's impossible to scan or skim read the text for not given questions. In fact, this will waste a lot of time. You will skim the entire text to maybe realize that it's not given. So what should you do instead? A really good strategy is if this, then that computer logic. Let me explain this in detail. In the yes, no, not given, the answer is yes if the statement agrees with the claims of the author. It's no if it disagrees with the author's claims, and not given if it is impossible to know what the author thinks about this information. So, the best and most effective way to answer these questions is by asking and answering some logical questions of your own. First, ask yourself when you read the statement, is this important for this topic in this 2-page passage or essay? For instance, when we look at question 14, most earthquakes are strong enough to cause some damage. Is the information of how strong earthquakes are important for the passage earthquake preparedness? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Here we're talking about the danger of earthquakes. It makes sense that the author will discuss how strong earthquakes are. So this is important information. In this case, it is very, very likely that the answer will either be yes or no. So now we ask the next question. Is it true that most earthquakes are strong enough to cause some damage? Well, if we read the passage carefully, we realize that no. The author states in the beginning of the passage that most earthquakes are so weak that we do not even feel them. So here, The answer is no. Or put the capital letter N in box 14 of your answer sheet. Now, repeat the same logical, systematic question and answer format, if this, then that approach for question 15. The strongest part of a room is furthest away from windows that can shatter. Again, is this information important for this passage? We're talking about earthquake preparedness. Is it important to know which part of the room is the strongest? Yes, absolutely. So the author must discuss this in the essay. Now again, in the essay, does the author explain that it is further away from the windows? No. In this case, the author says that the strongest part of the room is the door frame. This does not agree with this statement. So again, the answer is no. Now let's look at question 16. Your head and neck are the weakest parts of your body and must be protected. For earthquake preparedness, is it important to know which parts of the human body are the weakest? Now remember, this essay is only a page and a half. The author cannot go into a great amount of details. This definitely seems like a lot of detail. So I would be confident to state that this information is likely not given. However, if I ask the question, is this information important? And I don't know the answer. So I respond, well, maybe. Now I can look for some key words. Here, words that I can identify easily are head and neck, especially if I remember reading these somewhere near the middle of the passage. All right, let's do that now. Let's take a look at the passage for these words. After reading this information, it becomes clear that the author states your head and neck must be protected, but the author doesn't state any idea about whether these are the weakest or strongest parts of the body. So, logically, here we do not know what the author thinks about this. Therefore, the answer is not given. Don't make assumptions from your own knowledge. If you believe that the head and the neck are the weakest parts of the body, you cannot give the answer of yes, because that's your knowledge. It's not what the author states. Make sure to only use information in the passage and not in your own mind. All right, now let's take a look at question 17. Aftershocks are incredibly dangerous. Again, ask the question, is it important to know whether or not aftershocks are dangerous for the topic of earthquake preparedness? Yes, absolutely, that's some important information. So, it's either a yes or a no. It's most likely discussed by the author. Let's ask the next question. Are aftershocks very dangerous? Yes, they are. So here, clearly the answer must be yes. Okay, now make sure to try this strategy several times before you sit your next IELTS exam. Once you get the hang of it, you will see it's very effective and your accuracy will greatly increase. Again, remember, if this, then that. Question 1, is it important for the topic? If yes, then it must be yes or no. If no, then it's a not given and move on to the next question. Good practice and the best of luck on your next IELTS test. For many more great strategies to help you get high band scores on the IELTS exam, including 6 original practice tests and over 100 hours of video lessons, visit and join our premium package at www.aehelp.com. Subscribe to our channel, click over here, watch more videos, click right here, or click our IELTS Hero for over 100 hours of complete video lessons and 6 original practice exams to help you pass IELTS.